When you're explaining to someone, watch, understand, are they with you? Did you lost them already a long time ago? Or just simply ask, is there a better way to explain to you?
Welcome to the podcast about communication in business. I'm your host, George Torok. I'm known as the speech coach for executives because I help business leaders deliver the intended message for greater success. And we do that through one-on-one coaching and group training for the team. My guest today is Evgeniy Kharam. Here's 3 facts that I think you should know about Evgeniy. And I might mispronounce that name more than once, but that's the best sound that I can get there. 3 facts about him. 1, you've probably heard that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. Well, Evgeniy's got more than 40,000 hours in cybersecurity consulting and architecture. 2, when he started, he had a lot of speaking issues like speaking too fast, stuttering, and in general, being afraid to speak to groups. And 3, he is an outdoor enthusiast. And just to give a little bit more context to that, he is the author of the book, Architecting Success, The Art of Soft Skills in Technical Sales, and that's relevant. And he's also the co-founder of 2 podcasts and a conference that combines skiing and cybersecurity. How's that for a strange combination? Evgeniy Kharam, welcome to Your Intended Message.
Thank you very much. Very, very happy to be here today. It's always a pleasure to talk to a communication specialist because in a way, like, is it a test? Would I going to be scored in the end or not? Maybe going to learn something new. Listening to some of your episodes, I definitely learned from you and from your speakers as well. So very happy and thank you for inviting me for the show.
Delighted to be talking with you, and I know we're going to learn from each other and have some fun, and our listeners will also get some ideas along the way. And let me just clarify one aspect. As you know, too, being an expert in any field, whether it's cybersecurity or communication, doesn't mean that you're always perfect. In fact, you're hardly ever perfect, but we're on a journey to become better, to learn more, to ask better questions and learn as we go, because I believe in any field, the best experts always keep learning.
This is definitely an interesting point you mentioned. One of my hobbies is photography. And I had a privilege to go and do quite a lot of racing photography. For the folks that here in Toronto, I actually volunteer for a number of years for Toronto Indy race during the summer. And the people that I was shooting were not all professionals. I mean, like, didn't make money, but the pictures they made are just incredible. And we always had this conversation. Professional person is not the one, that take the best picture, maybe all the time, but the ones that have the gear, have backups, and know how to make the job eventually done to satisfaction of the customer. And this is mean that you know how to back up, you know how to learn, you know when to stop, when to listen, when to adapt, and not just in photography, in many, many other different fields.
And Evgeniy, as people may notice that you have an accent, which means that English was not your first language. And what I find interesting is you've taken the time to learn English, and not only learn it, but then learn it to help technical experts get their message across more effectively. And why do you believe technical experts struggle with communicating?
Thank you. Couple of things. English is my 3rd language. When I was young, we moved to Israel, so I learned Hebrew, and then I moved to Canada. I started learning English when I was still in Israel, and then, of course, continued here because I needed to work. And it was an interesting part because my English wasn't perfect, because I have and had an accent, I needed to learn what I can do differently than Canadian or Americans to explain my ideas to customers. And this means, in many cases, I put a lot of emotion. I took this dial of passion and dial it to full. And when you feel somebody talking about a firewall, about an architecture in so much passion, people are like, oh my God, this is probably true. There's no way he's faking this. Like, there's just no way he's describing this architecture about antiviruses, firewalls, and many other thingies, let's call them right now, without not believing in that. And this is moved to not verbal communication in many different things. I started to learn if I'm connecting to George on a personal level, then George will be like, oh, I like Evgeniy. I'm going to spend a bit more time. I'm going to give him more credit and maybe a bit more passion because I may not always understanding what he's saying. This is a building blocks. If you look on my book, on the bottom of the book, there's building blocks because everything together, it's one big building. And as a human being, it's all pieces of you to become a better person. I do want to answer you question about technical people and communication. In many cases, we are technical people. I consider myself a geek as well. Have this idea that if we talk in bits and bytes in the language we understand, everybody else will also understand us. And if you put a programmer and an accounting person in the same room and tell them, please only speak the acronyms you speak with your friends, I kind of guarantee nothing good will happen from this conversation. So we, the technical people, need to learn how to take complicated ideas and simplifying the ideas or creating analogies or metaphors that will explain our ideas. I use a lot of metaphors. I use a lot of analogies when I speak, when I communicate, when I present, when I lecture. This could be an analogy of a house when we're talking about security of the organization. The windows is one part of security. For example, if you don't know how many windows you have at a house, how would you know how to protect it? The camera is an interesting security control because it can find the bad guys, but it cannot do by itself anything. A fence, it's also a good security control, but if I can climb over the fence, it's done. And many different analogies that we can use in our language to explain technical ideas. And it's even harder when you're going to chemistry, when you're going to AI, when you're going to other fields like biology. How do you take what's there and you're explaining this in a simple language or business language? It's also important when you're talking to a business people, when you're talking about the C-level people or board members, their mind not always cares how big is the box, what the color is the box. They care it does what it intended, and the business can move on and make money.
And Evgeniy, it's curious. You did use an analogy there. You're talking about security, and you used the analogy of a house. You talked about the different access to the house, the different protective measures, such as the windows, a possible fence. And you didn't mention, but perhaps you would mention, and if you had a dog in the backyard, that might be helpful too. But if it's a tiny little dog that goes yip 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 yip, it's not going to be very good. But if it's a big one that goes rah, yeah, it's going to do better. So interesting how you're already using analogies and you're talking about cybersecurity. And yet and you're right, when we talk to an expert or when we listen to an expert, we first decide if we like this person, can we trust this person, and then we'll listen. And I believe that one of the mistakes that experts make is that people want to know everything they know. And the average person I don't want to know everything that you know. I want you to put what you know into terms that I understand and deliver it in a way that I say, yep, he's got my back. I trust him. I'll let him go with this. I don't need to know all that other stuff.
What you're going is very interesting. We're going to is if we take soft skills and we take curiosity is one. We take guide and being guided, maybe by definition is not a part of soft skills, but very, very fundamental. So if you're talking to a technical person and this technical person is smart enough or let's say emotional intelligence enough to actually, George, I'm happy to go as deep as you want. I would like you to stop me if I'm going too deep, or or you're not understanding what I'm saying. I will happy to move a level up and adapt to what you need. In the same matter, if you can guide me, what is the best way to explain to you? Do you want me to draw you a picture? Talk about it, because we all learn differently. Now, George, as a smart and intelligent consumer, buyer, educated consumer, may say, oh, this is great. So is it okay if I'm interrupting you when you're talking to me? So now you asking for guidance what you can or cannot do. Because some people will be, let me just quickly present it for you for 10 minutes, and then we go to all your questions, because I may answer majority of your questions in these 10 minutes. I hope this person not going to start presenting for 40 minutes, and you're like, oh my God, come on, what's going to happen here? Especially in the virtual environment, virtual meeting, when you can just go on a different screen and scroll Facebook or LinkedIn because you checked out. Second, when you ask this person, does the person can understand how you consume information? Are you audio person? Are you a visual person? We all go differently. I recently recorded a short training to how to be on Zoom for people that want to get hired. This is mean how to set up your video surrounding, how to speak, how to get relaxed. And for me, it was okay. I sent it to a friend. She's like, dude, love the training, but I'm a visual person. Can you add bullet points on the screen? I'm like, that's a good point. I was not thinking about that. Like, okay, makes sense. And if you take Army, for example, they always try to do everything. So they will explain to you how the weapon works. They'll let you repeat how it's working. Then you're going to disassemble the weapon. Then you actually go on a shooting range and use the weapon. So they're trying to tackle all the different parts of how we learn, audio, visual, and kinesthetic, to actually do it. It will resonate and stay with you. And this is an amazing, simple idea for all the technical people and sales as well, or even friends. When you're explaining to someone, watch, understand, are they with you? Did you lost them already a long time ago? Or just simply ask, is there a better way to explain to you? Guide me.
Now, that's wonderful insight there. Just stopping and asking the listener, am I getting through to you? Am I giving you too much detail, or should I go deeper? And that in itself is a powerful tip right there to help to ask your listener for guidance, how they want to receive the information. And it's curious, I had a call, a meeting last week, and the individual was offering a service that I was interested in. However, he just talked for almost all of 35 minutes, and not once did he stop to say, what did he say? He said, does this make sense to you? Which I found insulting. What, you think I'm stupid? I don't understand what you're saying? And instead of saying, is that enough, or do you want more? Or where would you like to go next? That would have been helpful, instead of just yapping on. And he ended up repeating himself a few times. And in the end, I just said, send me your written proposal, detail the process for me so I can look at it and understand it. That's all I want to know. We could have spent 5 minutes talking, 10 minutes talking, and then, I like to read. That's how I like to take in my information.
Now, you may be next time meeting someone like that, you may say, Mr. whatever it is, or Mrs. whatever it is, thank you very much. By the way, I like to read. If there is a white paper, if there's one pager, you can send to me before the meeting. Please send it to me before the meeting. I'll read, I'll come prepare with my questions. This way is going to be much more productive for you and for me.
And I just learned from you there. Oh, good idea. Why didn't I think of that? Duh. Yeah, I could make it easier for the person by telling them up front, here's my style of learning. Send me the outline ahead of time. That way I can read the outline, and then I have a much better idea, and the discussion will be more productive and more interactive. as opposed to me just waiting and tapping my finger saying, when's this guy going to finish? When is he going to finish? When is he going to finish? I don't care what he's saying because it's not connecting.
You know what? If we're talking about this idea of like what we wish, when you join a call and a vendor or salesperson or technical person explaining you something and you're thinking like, I can do it better than you. Like, why? Why I can explain your product better than you after 5 minutes of the conversation? And it's not bragging. It's just like, it's a process a bit different. It's the human connection. And if we go deeper, we have a very big challenge. For the last 5 years, we moved away from physical meetings. So we had phone calls, but in many cases, you will not jump on a Zoom, Google Teams. You have a phone call, and then you're going to have a physical meeting with the person. Now, in a physical meeting, you cannot really escape. You're already there. You're eating lunch. Maybe you have your phone or your laptop because you're taking notes. But right now, you and me communicating over video. And if it was a meeting, think about that. You only see very small part of Evgeniy. You don't know how many screens I have. I actually have 4 screens and a teleprompter. So what if I'm looking to my laptop right now that is mirrored to my teleprompter? Guess what? I still see your eyes perfectly, but you see the right side of Evgeniy. So while I'm thinking I'm a good connection with you, you're not. You just see my side. And this is such a simple part that people are like, oh, camera position. Where do I put it? Where do I look? And you know what's interesting? And this is not very common for people. If you take your laptop and you're using the camera of your laptop to communicate with someone, we're not going to go deep explaining why external camera may be better, and you're looking onto the screen of the laptop, the person on the other end doesn't see your eyes. They see, yes, exactly what you just did. Exactly. They see kind of a bit of your forehead. Now, if we're recording a session or we're trying to have this communication, you actually need to bring your eyes up and look into the camera. Now, this is going to sound strange because now I don't see your eyes. I see the camera, but you can teach my God, I forgot the word in English.
Peripheral.
Okay,
we got it.
Peripheral vision to kind of glance down and still maintain the eye contact to the camera. And if you play with 2 of your buddies, you will see the difference it makes, especially if you're recording something, because it's going to stay later on. And you want to maintain this eye contact with people. And this is just kind of, the tip of the iceberg on what's changed in our communication over video.
Good lesson. And the point is that eye contact is in the perception of your listener. What do they perceive? Not necessarily what do you perceive. And it's all about the listener's experience, not necessarily yours. And Evgeniy, another technique that you mentioned and you talk about in your book is using hooks. Tell us about hooks and how to use them.
So one simple example is you have a green screen behind you. I have a green screen as well, but I remember that we spoke about green screens, and I said, okay, I'm not going to have my green screen. It's going to be awkward. But the green screen behind you, in a way, it's a reverse hook. Because when you join a call, I'm like, George, what's up with the green screen? And like, oh, I have a podcast. I have a media production. So you did something to capture my attention and let me talk to you. In the same matter, I may have a guitar behind me, picture of a boat. And if the reverse hook didn't work, because it doesn't have to work, you have something captured behind me. You can talk about this. And the hooks, if any of you learn or read Dale Carnegie, How to Find Friends and Influence People, the idea came there. There was no video calls during this time. And he doesn't mention reverse hooks. It's something that, I don't know if it's mine, but came from other people, probably not mine, that we want to find something to talk about it. And we want to be personal. This could be by doing a research, find something interesting. If you remember when we spoke first time, my first question was, George, I don't understand your email address. It's very confusing because it's made out of letters. This was my first question. And this is a way, was my hook to connect to you because you were able to explain why. And we're not going to go to the deep explaining why right now. Explain what is the reason and logic behind the email address. So we connected right away on something. And the moment we have first connection, then we can build on top of it.
And you're right. That was a simple hook that you used. You inquired about the email address, which told me that, oh, you actually paid attention and you're curious. And so we had a short conversation that was short. Didn't take a lot of time, but it was a start there. And we need to make that start. And let's say you're sitting in a room with a person. What type of hooks would you use to start a technical presentation?
I personally believe that you don't start a technical presentation until you have a hook, until you spoke about something personal. You see somebody, if people playing golf, they usually in the office going to have a picture of them playing golf at least once. So this is, okay, oh, I see you playing golf. What's your favorite course? Or where do you usually play? I play as well. Whatever it is, or anything else you see on the screen. Now, if we're going into the technical presentation and we still want to continue using hooks, we can combine hooks and metaphors. Because now we can do examples. Let's piggyback on golf from golf. If you can explain something you do in golf terms or example from golf, I guarantee it's going to be much more interesting than just talking about whatever we're talking. And I do want to mention something that you, in the beginning, mentioned that combining ski and snowboard and cybersecurity was very strange. This was actually test soft skills. And this was a test for the book. The idea was if you're going to a function, if you're going to a conference, networking event, and I see George, it's kind of awkward to say, hi, George, I'm Evgeniy, let's talk business. Look, where is the hook? Where is whatever it is? Now, it's completely common, and you skiing, being on a chairlift and talk to people left and right. We do it all the time. Hey, is this your first time? Is this your mountain? I love the skis you have. We're doing all the time. There is nothing awkward about it. And we understand the moment we up, we say bye and we don't see them anymore. So if we're combining ski and snowboarding, we're now removing the tension. We have a humongous hook all over the conference because everybody can talk about skiing and snowboarding without sounds awkward, without looking for a conversation starter. And after that, if I like the person, we can transition to talk about cyber. Add food, couple of beers, leave them alone, works beautifully. So this was like, okay, yes, if we create a nice environment, correct environment for people, they will communicate much easier. But we can teach them to do it outside of this function as well.
And you're right. When you're sitting on the chairlift, it's just natural. There's a perfect stranger next to you. I've never seen this person before. Might never see them again. And you just naturally start in a conversation, maybe about the hill, the conditions. Oh, where'd you get those skis? Or something which might at some point, well, where are you from? And, oh, how often you come here? Oh, I don't get much time to get away from work, or the family keeps me at home. And then it's just a natural conversation. And then if you actually get on the chair with them again, the conversation continues and goes deeper.
Yes. Or you decide that you like the person so much that you guys actually going and skiing together. You're doing a couple of runs. Like, okay, can I join you? I'm new to the mountain. Whatever it is. In our case, we had people doing network diagrams on top of the hill with a ski pole to kind of, because we got stuck there. Like, okay, this is interesting. And eventually there are like 15 people there doing diagrams and talking about network architecture and security.
Now, Evgeniy, you're going to love this analogy that I used. When one of the times I went skiing, I wore a helmet cam and I shot video of skiing. And what I did is I made a short clip about getting on and getting off the chairlift. And what I pointed out was the little details that you need to pay attention to so that you don't fall and you don't fall getting on or you don't fall getting off. And I pointed out, here's all these little things that are happening just to get on and get off the chairlift. And I used the analogy of when it comes to communicating, there are little details, little nuances that make the communication happen more effectively and it works well when we make it a habit, so it's automatic. That's the power of habits. And I got all this from a 30-second video.
So you brought an interesting topic again about habits, because people are like, oh, sounds very interesting, but I'm afraid to practice this connection thingies with people at work. They're like, okay, how about you have a habit to practice connecting with people when you're not at work, when you're doing grocery? Can you talk to the cashier? Can you make them smile? These people, man, woman, standing there for a long time, they maybe not always very happy. Can you actually talk to them and see if you can make them smile? And if you can make them smile, check. You made something good for today. You finish your homework and you made somebody else day a bit better. When you're staying in line, don't be stuck on your phone. Talk to people left to right. Again, don't assume you're going to become buddies and you're going to go drinking together, whatever it is. Just have a small talk. And when you're doing these small talks, it's become a habit to find the hook, to find what you can do. And the more knowledge you have, in general knowledge, then it's going to be easier for you to talk. I can talk about skiing. I'm actually a snowboarder, but I know enough about skiing to talk confidently. I'm not a golfer. And I will be afraid to talk long about golf. But I know the high level. I know at least some of the basic stuff. And I'm curious enough that if I'm going to be spending time with a professional golfer, I will ask them, hey, can you explain me how? Can you teach me the logic? Like why? What's motivate you? How do you play? Why there's different clubs? How you decide to choose which club? Beside the length part, beside many different things. What do you do when it's windy? It's for sure interesting for me. I'm not going to go play golf from a variety of different reasons, but I will be happy to understand more about the logic and more about the game itself.
And Evgeniy, I just learned another lesson to you. I don't care about golf either. However, I haven't been tremendously curious about the game. I understand that you know that there's 18 holes or 9 holes or 18, and I understand that you have par, and I don't know the difference between a birdie and a I don't know what the other terms, a bogey and a birdie. I have no idea. Maybe I should learn that. Maybe I should ask someone to explain.
Do you know what's interesting? I think there is a direct association between golf and good salespeople. Because good salespeople are not the ones that want 2-3 deals and they're done. They have consistency to deliver. So same with golf. It's not enough to play 1-2 games. You need to constantly, consistently repeating the success, repeating what you do. So it's not just like I've done it one time, I'm done. There's a lot of consistency happening during the game itself, like when you're playing on the same day and coming back and doing this as well.
Another good lesson. Yeah, you're right. Golf it's not just about playing one hole. There's 18 holes, and you don't get good by playing once a year or twice a year. You get good by playing several times a year and going to the practice range as well, and maybe getting some coaching to improve your technique.
So we're talking about communication podcast. What do you use your take about getting coaching on communication and voice?
And you're right. The best speakers, the best people in any field work with a coach. And when it comes to speaking and improving how you speak and improving your voice, you go to a coach who understands these. And I've been to years ago. I took a weekend workshop on doing voiceovers. not because I wanted to do voiceovers, but I wanted to feel more comfortable with my voice and use it to my best advantage. And so, yes, there are techniques that you can use to warm up your voice before you speak. And there are techniques you can use to when you are losing your voice. For example, did you know that cold water is not good for your voice? You go to a conference center and people put ice water on the table. And if you're the speaker, don't drink the ice water. It's bad for your throat. Instead, when I go to speak at a conference, I arrive early, and if they've got a bucket of ice water, I pour out 2 or 3 glasses so the water can warm up to room temperature. That's better for your throat. What's even better is lemon water or lemon tea. Slightly warm, not hot, but warm, but lemon is good for your throat. And another technique to prepare your voice is to yawn before you speak, because that relaxes the vocal cavity. So those are some of the techniques that I got from that weekend workshop.
I learned a lot that voice, in a way, it's a muscle, not voice itself, but you operate muscles. So you mentioned about cold. If we're doing a workout or race, we don't want cold muscles. So the technique I learned when I was doing speech therapy, speech voice, is to actually move your tongue around your mouth, left and right several times. That apparently not so easy if you want to do it like 10 or 15 times. And it's warming up everything inside as well to become a better speaker. And in a way, not yelling, but kind of loudly, like almost like roaring like a lion. A good idea as well. Probably not the best if you're doing physical conference, but if you're doing something at home, this can work as well. And you've been talking about communication and voice. Many people got recommendation to practice the talk as much as possible. And I agree on practicing the talk. And now I'm kind of maybe focusing more on people that are relatively new to presenting. Because when you've been presenting for a long time and you forgot a slide, you will figure out what to do. You will make stuff somehow. But if you're relatively new, you want to know your slides. Now, there is a part that really depends on the person that you want to stop practicing the slides and you want to practicing how to be more relaxed. Because if you're focusing only on the material of what you need to present, you will forget about breathing. You will forget about watching the people around you. You will forget how to use intonations better, how to lower your voice or bring your voice higher. And your focus will only going on the technical material that you're presenting or being stressed, because we all stressed. And if you didn't read the statistics, after dying, public speaking is the most second part people are afraid to. So I'll definitely suggest to learn how to relax. Learn how to breathe slowly to get to the point that you can understand that your fear is actually your excitement, because you're so excited to be there. So learn to transfer fear to excitement, because deep inside you want to be there. You want it to be a good speech. So you are excited to be
there. Exactly right. And that fear can become energy. Use that, channel that energy. Don't let it stop you, but let it channel that energy. And the reason you're anxious when you speak is because you care. You care. You want to deliver your message and use that in a caring way for your listeners, for your audience. And you're right. It's all about the audience. It's not about everything that you thought you had to say. They don't need to hear everything. You think you need to say it. They don't need to hear it. Evgeniy, for those that are interested to learn more about your book, and the book is Architecting Success, The Art of Soft Skills and Technical Sales. They can find that at your website. There's the cover of the book, and the website is softskillstech.ca, and you can find that link in the description below. And what I find clever about the title is the first part of the title is Architecting Success. Now, if I saw that book on the shelf, it would not grab my attention. However, I'm not the target audience. The target audience is technical people who deal with computer digital architecture. So that's a word they understand. So they will see that and they go, oh, the art of soft skills in technical sales. Well, that's me. I should learn more about that. So the title is targeted to the audience, which is a lesson in itself. Congrats on that.
Thank you very much. You can also find the book on Amazon. Just Google. Put my name in Amazon, Evgeniy Kharam, Evgeniy Kharam, and like Mary. Also, feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn. Not too many Evgenys there, so we'll be happy to talk more and answer your questions as well.
Evgeniy, as we prepare to wrap up, if you could sit down with a technical expert who is now moved into a leadership role and they need to communicate with their team and to the management of the organization, if you could give them 1, 2, or 3 tips on how to improve their communication skills and break out of that technical nerd mindset and get their ideas across to the people who need it.
Definitely. So let's start with the management. Understand the management, understand what they need. They're not always going to be caring about the small pieces. They're going to care about overall what's happening. So the quicker you understand the business need from the management, easier for you going to be to present your ideas in the language they understand. Don't forget about metaphors as well and how you can do it. For you teammates, as quick as possible, understand people as well, do one-on-ones, spend some time to understand what motivates them. Yes, we all want money, but beside this, we maybe have kids, we maybe need to leave earlier, we maybe like to have vacations, we maybe have hobbies that we want to do. So understand what motivates them, what drives them, what will make them more happier as a human being. And if they're a happy human being, they're going to be working harder as well.
A lot of key tips in there. A good reminder to listen to this interview again because you might miss something the first time. A lot of useful tips. My guest today is Evgeniy Kharam, reminding you that when it comes to improving your communication skills, build in the hooks and build your habits. If you like what you heard, tell your friends. And post your 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because that helps more listeners find us. Come back every week for more practical insights to help you deliver your intended message. I'm your host, George Torok.